my favorite movie stars in the world. I would even say my second favorite movie star, second only to Ryan Reynolds, is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I just love him. Now, do I think he should appear in Macbeth? Do I think he is Ralph Fiennes, the finest actor in the world without an Oscar? No, but he's charming and fun, and I've had a chance to meet him a couple of times. Totally wonderful guy, and I just love him to death. Now, the thing is, he's got this reputation of being like the hardest working guy in show business. And if his workout routine is anything about that, he's in the gym 3 hours a day, trying to maintain his physique and all that kind of stuff. But there's a new report that just came out in the Wrap suggesting that his new movie, Red One, not to be confused with Red Notice, that terrible movie he did with the aforementioned Ryan Reynolds. Red One he's doing with Chris Evans involves Santa Claus being kidnapped and an elf, an extremely large fellow or whatever that stands for, and Chris Evans playing some kind of private detective, got to go out and find Santa Claus. Well, according to this story that broke in the Wrap, the production budget on this movie's ballooned up to $250 million, mainly because, the allegations go, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is lazy and always late, sometimes never even showing up to set on days he's supposed to shoot, and sometimes late up to 8 hours. Now, to me, that's tomorrow. That's 8 hours late is no longer late. 8 hours late that's freaking tomorrow. But I thought it would be interesting enough to read through some of the stuff in this article and then to discuss some of these accusations about arguably the biggest box office draw in Hollywood. It says this: for more than 2 decades, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has nurtured a reputation as a hard-working, muscle-bound action comedy movie star with considerable box office drawing power. But Red One, a high-powered Christmas crowd pleaser for Amazon MGM, which is going to be a theatrically released film, has turned into a massive budgetary misadventure, casting Johnson's fame and work ethic in a different light. Originally slated for release during 2023 Christmas season, the Red One theatrical release has been delayed to November of 2024, supposedly due to the labor strikes. But the story is a lot messier. Production issues ranging from Johnson's chronic lateness and a lack of professionalism on set to producers' inexperience caused the cost of the movie, co-starring Chris Evans and J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus, to spiral upward to a final budget of over $250 million. A sum more befitting of a superhero tentpole. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. According to more than a dozen insiders directly involved in the project, Red One production was a perfect storm of problems compounded by the inexperience of the film's lead producer, Hiram Garcia. That, of course, is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's production partner and business partner in Seven Buck Productions, and Amazon MGM feature and production executives Julie Rappaport and Glenn Gaynor, who are overseeing the project. Insiders told the Wrap that Johnson showed up as much as 8 hours late to set on the movie, forcing the crew to shoot around him on some days. On previous films, Johnson has made a habit of peeing in a water bottle to save time and upsetting crew members. I have heard that before, but it's actually been, whenever I've heard that story, that Johnson in the middle of a shot will just turn around, grab a bottle and pee in a bottle instead of going to the bathroom. It's because he's so dedicated to keeping everything on schedule that he doesn't want to waste people's time by running to the bathroom and coming back. At least that's how it's always been presented, that he's so dedicated to keeping everything quick and on time and on schedule that he'll pee in a bottle, which is, by the way, the exact same thing I used to do when playing World of Warcraft because I didn't want to step away from the computer. Anyway, that's another disgusting story for another time. All right. It goes on to say Amazon was hoping to launch a potential franchise with Red One, which is about, a villain who kidnaps Santa Claus from the North Pole, after which an elf, extremely large and formidable operatives, join forces with a bounty hunter. Then it goes on to talk about this. Okay. In a statement to the Wrap, a spokesperson for Amazon MGM denied there were any on-set issues with Red One or delays caused by Johnson's lateness or Seven Buck's inexperience, which caused the film to balloon. This is what Amazon had to say officially about these allegations. Dwayne Johnson and Seven Bucks have been incredible partners on Red One, a film that audiences of all ages are going to love this holiday season, the spokesman said. Our testing has been very strong. The reaction from CinemaCon speaks for itself. By the way, they did not do a CinemaCon presentation. I think they showed some footage to a couple of hand-picked journalists that they picked out. But even then, we haven't heard them say anything. Whatever. And we couldn't have made it without Dwayne's constant work and support. Any reporting, says Amazon, that implies that we got to this point with him showing up 7 to 8 hours late is both ridiculous and false. Okay, now listen, to me, this sounds like nonsense. I'm reading this morning, and I'm like, none of this jives with what I've heard about Dwayne Johnson's on-set behavior before. I've always heard that he works very hard. He's the hardest working guy on a set. Even his reported feud with Vin Diesel, he was mad at Vin Diesel for like showing up late,
right? Yeah,
and stuff like that. Or so the stories went, right? And so maybe you think, okay, well, maybe this did happen here, but maybe this is just a bad time for The Rock. The Rock's also doing WWE stuff. Maybe he's got other things, but apparently this has been going on with some other films as well. Check this out. The examples of Johnson's tardiness are numerous and well documented, from showing up late for fan events to leaving entire sets idle while he was off doing 3-hour workouts. And it talks about some of his stuff with WWE. Apparently he showed up late for a fan event prior to WrestleMania. It says, on the set of Red 1, Johnson's pattern of lateness proved more damaging. Johnson was late an average of 7 to 8 hours per day. Again, to me, that's not late. That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it missed 7 to 8 hours today, ballooning costs by at least $50 million, according to 3 insiders who insisted on anonymity for fear of being fired. It was a fucking disaster, said one insider. On days when Johnson didn't show up at all, the production crew was forced to just shoot around him, the insider said. Dwayne truly doesn't give an F, one insider said bluntly. In response to questions from the Wrap, 2 sources close to production and one close to $7 all insisted that Johnson's averaged no more than being 1 hour late on the Red 1 set. Okay, now, then they start talking about other movies that Dwayne's been involved in. Let's see if we can find this here. Oh yeah, when talking about Ballers, Johnson's tardiness has been an issue for a number of years. They rent a location, they can shoot as much as they can of other actors while they wait for him to decide if he's going to come to set. A producer who visited the set of HBO's Ballers told The Wrap. A former production assistant on the show collaborated this, saying he was regularly 3 to 4 hours late to set, keeping 100 plus crew members waiting for no reason, according to a third insider. In March of 2017, Johnson was 6 hours late to the Baller set. Now, this is where I'm going to tell you a little personal story. Remember that movie Rampage he did about the video game?
Mm-hmm.
On the set of 2018's Rampage, Johnson was late an average of 45 hours daily, with one co-star keeping records of his tardiness, according to 2 insiders. Dwayne's call times are never, ever published on the call sheet, one of the insiders added. It's because one of the actors on Rampage was keeping a log of how late Dwayne Johnson was to set every day. A spokesperson for Johnson did not respond to a request for comment late Monday about Rampage and Ballers. Okay, so I read that part about Ballers, or about Rampage, because I'm not going to say who, but I happen to be friends with, let's just say, a very high up person.
Top men.
Top men. I happen to be friends with a very high up person who was involved in the making of Rampage. And I reached out to them this morning and I said, hey, they're saying, did you see the story in the Wrap? They're saying Dwayne Johnson was always late for work on Rampage. And they wrote back to me, it's bullshit. So Rob comes in this morning, we're talking about the story. I said, yeah, but I got a friend. He knows who I'm talking about. I got a friend on Rampage who told me it's bullshit. So he said this whole Wrap story, totally bullshit. They're right, it's bullshit. But then he texted me later, and I misunderstood what he meant by bullshit. Because bullshit wasn't the story. He's referring to Dwayne Johnson's behavior as bullshit. And I'm going to bring it up here, not on screen, but I'm going to bring it up here. I said, oh, so you're saying that the story's actually true. He said this, my friend said this, Dwayne Johnson completely fucked us in the production of Rampage. He says, he does this all the time. don't get me wrong, he's as nice as his public perception pretends he is. He is really that nice of a guy, but he is always late. And I think everybody in the industry is now tired of his bullshit. So I don't know what to do with that. I am a Dwayne Johnson fan. I love The Rock. But I'll tell you what, as much as I love The Rock, this is adding to the growing hill of stuff that kind of puts some tarnish on this really great image Dwayne Johnson has. Now, one of the interesting things that my friend said is like, hey, make no mistake about it. Everything you see about Dwayne Johnson, about how nice of a guy he is and how really, really kind and sweet he is, absolutely true. He is all of those things. I've talked to many people in the industry who've worked with Dwayne, and they all say the same thing. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Great. Okay, good. But if you're going to show up late, and listen, I am married to the world's most perfect woman, except for maybe when it comes to being on time for things. What? I didn't say anything. And nothing drives me more crazy than people who are late. Nothing makes me angry at myself than when I am the one who's late, because when you are late, I don't care if you're meeting for dinner plans. I don't care if you're meeting at a movie. And I don't care if it means you're showing up for work. You are telling everybody else that you are more important to them, that you are more important than them, and that you do not respect them and you don't respect their time because they decided to be there on time and you didn't. Everything else in your life is more important than what you were supposed to be doing right now. And so being late myself drives me crazy. People being late drives me crazy. One of my favorite lines in a movie, guys, you know, I love that movie Best of the Best with Roberts. What's his first name? Eric Roberts and James Earl Jones. One of my favorite lines in that movie. James Earl Jones, the coach of the American Taekwondo team, is giving them their instructions. It's their first meeting. He says, and one more thing, don't be late. Don't ever be late. I love that. Or as Chris Carr would say, in the entertainment industry, if you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're 10 minutes late, you're fired.
Unless you're The Rock.
Unless you're The Rock and you can show up 8 hours late. And I'm telling you what, is this as bad as finding out he's a real dick and an asshole? No, I mean, I'm very happy that we're still hearing he's every bit of a nice guy as everybody says he is, but this would drive me crazy. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wylands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That's harrys.com/Campea for a $3 trial set. Rob, you've worked on the set of many movies and things like that. Give people an understanding about why being on time, especially when it comes to movie production, is so important. And have you ever come across a situation where you had somebody who was habitually late showing up to set, and what kind of damage that can cause?
Okay, first of all, being late to set is the worst thing you can possibly do, and I'll tell you why. You only have when you are scheduling a day on a set to shoot, you have a schedule and you have a number of pages that you're supposed to shoot that day. Now, you have a finite amount of money to shoot that day over the course of 12 hours. If you go beyond 12 hours, you have to pay more money. So as you're setting up a schedule and budgeting a movie, this is crucial in terms of how much money you have. There are 43,200 seconds in 12 hours. And you have a finite amount of money.
Sounds like you're about to break into the song from Rent.
Oh, no. I know, right? No. There are 43,200 seconds, which means, John, you can actually figure, say you have $250,000 to shoot for that day. That means, I'm going to round it up, that every second costs $6. Every second. So anytime you're not shooting, you are burning up $6 a second. And if you have scheduled 4 pages to shoot, and you're expecting Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to show up and shoot 4 pages, and he shows up 8 hours late, you have burned up that money. Now, here's the thing. Where's that money going to come from again? You only had it. You had that $250,000 for that one day to shoot those 4 pages. If you don't make your day,
that's a modest movie.
And that's that if you can't make your day, I'll tell you something. I produced a $4 million movie for Warner Brothers in Bulgaria. We went half a day over for a technical problem, not for anything other than that we had to fix. I got a phone call the next morning. Well, how are you going to fix this? The studio is pissed. And this was a tiny budget movie. And we went over. I said, look, it was a driving scene. We were dealing with camera mounts and things. We can make it up on our final day that we were shooting. You can't make up days when you're shooting with your main star unless you add days, which means you have to find another $250,000. And if this happens every day, as they said it did on Red One, that's why the budget balloons up to $250 million.
Well, they were saying the article alleges that just his lateness cost them $50 million.
And if you can see that, because can you imagine $250,000 a day and you were only shooting 4 of those 12 hours? That's insane. And I do not, John, I have to say, I'm sure Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's a nice guy, but it's inexplicable to me why a big star that commands the kind of money he commands, why would he not show up? And not only that, John, you have hundreds of people waiting to work. It is disrespectful to the financiers of the studio. It's terrible to your crew. There is nothing more toxic than a crew showing up.
And by the way, you're paying all those people 100, 200, 300 crew members. You are paying all those people as they sit around and wait for you to show up.
And the thing is, they're there to do the best job that they can. They're there to make sure, and when somebody doesn't show up, if there's one cog in that machine that just decides to not be there, nothing can work. And what that does is that affects the entire crew on many different levels. And, to me, obviously, the stars, this is the worst kind of, when they say it's diva behavior. If this is true, it's true of anybody who doesn't show up, any actor who doesn't show up. And the thing is, it's usually the actors, because anyone else who doesn't show up gets fired. You're out of here, buddy. You don't even get do-overs. If you're late to set by an hour, you're gone. Even if your mother was dying. Sorry, we can't have that. And so I hear something like this, and I find it to be inexplicable, because somebody who wants to continue a film career to cost a studio $50 million, where's that money supposed to come from? Someone pull it out of their rear end?
And listen, there's probably nobody in the industry that's busier than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So I'll understand a day that you show up. You know what? Dennis Zen and I, we had a day where we had booked that we were going to spend the afternoon with Kevin Hart. And this is back when we were at AMC, and Kevin Hart was going to meet us at a AMC theater in Los Angeles. And we were going to have a couple hours with him to do an interview and stuff like that. Kevin Hart was 4 hours late. Now, the reason, though, he was late was because the next day was the MTV Movie Awards, and he was playing a big part of it. And that day was the run through, and their rehearsals were running 3-4 hours late. He couldn't just get up and leave the MTV Movie Awards rehearsals, come to us. And you know what? So I get that. That'll happen.
Yes.
But every day on every project, I mean, that it's disappointing. It's disappointing to hear. Again, I'm glad I'm still hearing reports that he's super nice. I'm glad to hear he's as kind of a person as I was led to believe when I've sat down and talked with Dwayne. He couldn't have been a greater guy in the world. But I don't know that I'd work with Dwayne.
Doesn't he have someone that sets his schedules too? Maybe she could work, whoever that is.
He's got to have like 5 assistants, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you know he's always late, then set the schedules to.
But the thing is, if you take a job working on a movie, you shouldn't have anything else to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That with the amount of money you're being paid and the amount of money that's being, I mean, John, $250 million.
And $7 is a partner on this movie. Hiram Garcia, his business partner, is the executive, the main producer of the movie. You know, Ray, to your point, this is going to get back to where I know, but Ann and I have started doing that with your other sister, with Olive. We're like, if we need Olive somewhere,
You say
by 1 o'clock, we tell Olive, 11.
Earlier.
We tell her 11:30. We're meeting at 11:30. Seriously, that's what we do. And then she'll
doesn't
show
work.
up close to 1 o'clock.
It doesn't work.
And even then, it doesn't work a lot of the times.
Doesn't.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. I am a unapologetic big Dwayne The Rock Johnson fan, but I am really disappointed to hear this. And I was expecting reaching out to my friend who had worked with them to hear, no, that story's nonsense. But instead they got back to, oh, no, Dwayne completely effed us. He completely effed us. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, does the fact that apparently everybody still says he's a super nice guy, but does this affect the way you see him or look at him? Maybe it's not important at all, but man, that seems pretty disrespectful to me. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.